Debt is the source of all evil, as the saying goes. The majority of us are in debt. A mortgage on our home, car loan, student loan, or a loan to an established business are all possible examples. Some people have the opinion that starting anything with debt is terrible, but let's face it, debts are a necessary part of life in our world. For me, debt is acceptable for you if you put the money to good use, such as starting your own business and working hard for it. Even if they began with loans from the bank, some companies succeed from this. Number 1. Most of the trade is based on debt. It may sound contentious because borrowing money to launch a business is a terrible idea, and I for one would never act in such a way. However, there are some industries, mainly traditional industries, where using it is your best choice. Say you want to market pens. It's a relatively typical product and there's always a market for it. In an ideal world, you would take a plane to China and locate a plant that makes the kind of pen at a reasonable cost. Today, however, most of that is done online through platforms like Alibaba. Unless you need to fly to the factory for a more involved product, the catch is that you don't need to pay for the things to obtain them first, and I'll tell you how. China has transformed over the past 50 years into the world's factory, producing practically everything. Millions of factories continuously generate everything the world requires. Most of these factories would gladly lend you their goods in exchange for a payment at a later date to facilitate sales. Naturally, they wouldn't lend to total strangers. Therefore, you must first establish some kind of confidence with them. For the past 50 years, that has been how the business is operated. When the client successfully sells the product in the US or another country, he pays the plant and borrows additional goods. By saying you know how to create it, let me assist you to sell it to the factory. My profit will be whatever price I can get it for when I sell it. The benefit of this method is that you are not investing any of your funds in it. Selling is one of the most important skills that you can learn. Number 2. Refinancing. The best debt is real estate debt since there are many legal pitfalls. You are paying more taxes if you don't have a mortgage. Rich folks always have several mortgages to take advantage of all the deductions. Remember that every dollar you avoid in paying taxes and earn instead is a dollar more, so that's another way wealthy people accumulate wealth. But allow me to offer you a more helpful approach. This is how wealthy individuals become wealthy in real estate. Imagine you save 200k. That's a sizable sum of money. However, if we're being sincere, that is nothing. Of course, you can only purchase a home if you're eligible for a loan of up to $800,000, given that a 20% down payment is required. However, this is the key. Let's imagine you discover a property that costs $500,000 to buy. It requires some, possibly a lot, renovation because it is in poor shape. You visit a bank and obtain a loan by paying a 20% down payment on a mortgage. Suppose you're traveling to spend about $50,000 or about 10% of the house's entire cost on renovation. You may visit your bank once more, but you want to refinance your mortgage because when you first received the mortgage, the worth of that house was just $500,000. No one wanted to live there since it was such a horrible shape. Now that you've renovated it, some people want to rent it out. Therefore, let's imagine the property's market worth increases to $700,000. Let's imagine, for example, that you are planning to obtain an 80% mortgage. However, $560,000 is 80% of $700,000. $400,000 will be given to the initial bank that provided you with your first mortgage. If we exclude the additional $50,000 that you spent on renovations, that leaves us with an extra profit of $100,000. Using that, you generate $110,000 in profit. And what's left is a home you can rent out to increase your equity and make passive income. Furthermore, you'll be exempt from paying taxes since you have a mortgage. Real estate investors frequently engage in this activity. Can you see now that this is bad? I'll let you respond to that in the comment box below. Number 3. Hedge Funds. Hedge funds are created by the wealthy for the wealthy to make the rich even more rich. And they frequently employ unpopular tactics. Mortal beings like you and I do our best to forecast which firms will expand and increase in value, and we spend the money we have worked so hard to earn in hopes that these companies will grow. However, hedge funds frequently employ a completely different approach. They attempt to profit when businesses fail or are acquired, similar to how the internet challenged hedge funds in the GameStop case and caused them to lose over $13 billion in that instance. However, do hedge funds generate income from debt? Say you anticipate a particular stock, such as Facebook, to decrease because you know that Apple, the next company, makes the most popular smartphone, will declare the next week that they will no longer use Facebook and Instagram, two tracking programs to monitor your online behavior, and put the protection of privacy first. In turn, this will seriously hurt Facebook's business model. So if you pick up the phone and dial your broker, ask him to lend you one Facebook share worth $100 and immediately sell it for $100 on the open market, congratulations, you have $100 in your pocket. However, you still owe your broker one share of Facebook. Let's assume you're correct and your Facebook stock price drops to $70 per share at the following week. You use that $100 to purchase one Facebook share at a discounted price of $70 and give it back to the broker while keeping the difference. Congratulations, you made $30 from a total stock sale. Although it appears it's straightforward in theory, doing it well is hazardous and complicated. What occurs if you're mistaken? When the cost increases by 50% tomorrow? You still need to pay your broker. This is the concept of shorting. Number 4. Forex. Here's a brief explanation of how it works. We have covered this in our Forex video, a link to which I will post in the comments section. The Forex market, where currencies are traded, facilitates the global trade. China accepts US dollars. For instance, you must purchase Chinese yen to pay your staff in China. Therefore, there is a market where any individual or business can buy foreign currencies, and these currencies change according to many circumstances. For instance, if the Fed raises interest rates, it will reduce the number of dollars available on the market and strengthen the dollar relative to other currencies, or vice versa. Therefore, you can earn money in this market by forecasting which currencies can increase or decrease. But what sets these markets apart is that you can borrow an additional $100 for every dollar you use to trade in FX. Put another way, if you deal with $1,000, you can have a position worth $100,000. It'll be significant even if you only make a tiny 1% profit. Number 5. Credit score. That is an effective tool, as you can see. Every successful firm or entrepreneur makes use of that in different ways. Particularly if you have a successful business plan. Practically every business uses borrowing to finance purchase orders. So stop focusing on everything negative about the concept of debt. Debts with a high interest rate like credit card debt are terrible, of course. However, you must reduce the risks of lending money to achieve a reduced interest rate. You accomplish this by establishing a reputation as a trustworthy borrower. There are hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in banks that are just waiting to be lent. Additionally, banks can produce money out of thin air even when there is none, which we will be explaining in a future video of ours. And that's a wrap, everyone. Did this enrich your thinking? I really hope so. We must acknowledge that debt is necessary for survival in today's environment, especially if you want to thrive. Since we have to work hard to pay for it, it's not all that horrible, especially if you use it to your advantage. I sincerely hope you learned something and enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.